Hello, this is Andreas from Nordic Tarot, and I've got 3 readings for you for the last 2 weeks of September. Please remember that even the 2 more specific readings, the love and the work reading, they are still general. So if they do not resonate, I'm sorry, but hopefully at least one of the 3 will. And you'll find more information about how to contact me and on the decks I'm using in the description. Thank you, and I hope you enjoy your readings. Hello Pisces, Sun, Moon and Rising. This time around I pulled number 17, the Fates, for you from Wisdom of the Oracle. And the essential meanings are fate, karma, acceptance that there are things you cannot change and knowing what those things are. And for your general reading, the Oracle's message is, the Serenity Prayer sums up the meaning of this card. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. There are things in life you will never have control over. The conditions brought on by the evolution of the collective, by nature, and by your past experiences may be fated, preordained by spirit for a greater purpose you cannot understand in this lifetime. It may not be in your cards to understand why certain events occurred, but you can accept the mystery and work with what those events and your current circumstances have to teach you. This is the wisdom contained in the Serenity Prayer. And that message is quite intense. It got a lot to do with the universe and fate and, the hand of fate playing a role in our everyday lives. But here in the general reading, you do have the Ace of Swords. And honestly, I feel like the general reading very much just speaks to parts of the love and the work reading. Like the Ace of Swords is a new way of thinking. And it's also a victory card. It's victory through the truth. So this can be about admitting things to yourself, or speaking the truth, or hearing the truth from someone else. And then you have the Ace of Pentacles. And the Ace of Pentacles has the potential of leading to the Ten of Pentacles, which is like the legacy card and what we leave behind and these kind of things. But then it's capped off by the Five of Swords, which is a card that asks us, is it worth it? Is what we're doing worth it? Does the end justify the means? And not in this card, but it is shown in the original Rider-Waite deck that I used to learn the tarot with. It depicts 3 people. It's this person in the forefront of the picture, or of the card, that is victorious, and in the Rider-Waite he looks quite smug, and he's like, haha, I did it, I won. Then there are also 2 figures in the back with their backs turned to us, the viewer, and they look very dejected, and they're obviously defeated by this person. So the Five of Swords asks you that question, is this something you're willing to do to someone? Is this something that's happened to you? Are you the defeated party in this? But I very much feel like the general is just like a blanket on top of the other 2 readings, where in the love reading you have the Ace of Swords, in the work reading you have the Ace of Pentacles, and the Five of Swords are present in both, like, is it worth it? But in different kind of ways. And with that, I'm going to move on to the love reading, and the relationship message is, other people are who they are. You can't change them. The challenge is to accept them as they are and try not to make them otherwise to suit you. This is a time to look at how you attempt to mold people to fit your view of how they should be, so you can remain in the relationship and avoid discomfort. What if who they are and whatever is happening between you and them in this situation is perfect from the perspective of spirit? Now is the time to accept what you cannot change, even if it means that you honor yourself, spirit, and the other person by moving on. Love unconditionally, for each of us is on our own journey, and we cannot direct that of another. Be aware that this relationship is indeed fated, and you are meant to evolve into a better version of yourself as a result of it. And bam, the first card you have is the Wheel, which is, fate. The Wheel is... And it's the Wheel of Fortune. So the Wheel of Fortune keeps spinning, and the seasons keep changing, and it's a card that speaks of change, and sometimes it can be daunting, because it's, especially when you speak of the seasons, because the seasons will always change, and change will always happen. One situation will turn into another situation, there will be transitions, and things just don't stay the same forever, which can be, scary, and it can sound very chaotic. But the thing with the Wheel is that the Wheel can bring old things around and old situations back around for you to experience again, but in where the players might be different and it can be the same situation, but just with different people. And it's to teach us a lesson, or to break the mold, or to change a pattern, or to, break some kind of cycle where maybe you've been put in the same kind of situation, 4 or 5 or 6 times in your life, and you've acted the same every time. Then maybe now you have the opportunity again to do something different and change it and see what happens and learn something from that. And I do feel like this is a very internal journey for you, because you have the Hermit, which is a very introspective card. He's very spiritual, and he's got his staff and his lantern, and he's going out there to find some kind of enlightenment. There's something he's trying to find out and learn about, and, is this about himself? Is this something internal for him, where he's gone out alone and, there's no one around to affect him? He's just there on his own, trying to figure something out. And with the Tower being here, I feel like it's going to be like, it feels like a sudden realization to me, that it can just be something where you go, oh, Jesus, okay. Oh, that makes so much sense to me. And you do have the Ace of Swords in your general reading, which is victory through the truth, and, it's a new way of thinking. So I feel like maybe you have one perspective on something, but then, boom, the Tower happens, and you're like, oh, I'm looking at this very differently now. And with that, we're going to move on to your work reading, and the prosperity message is, your experiences concerning prosperity and abundance are beyond your personal control right now. You are being invited to accept what is unreservedly. This could be a temporary situation, seemingly thrust upon you by outside forces. But there is an underlying purpose that you can't see that has been determined by the fates. It could be a situation you are unprepared for, and you may not understand how it will benefit you in the moment. Do not fight the situation. Ride it out and see where it leads. Surrender to it, and the serenity you need to make good choices from here on out will be given to you. You will indeed flourish. And with the, a lot of this reading's got to do with fate, obviously, because of the fates, and feeling like some kind of situation has been thrust upon you, or you're in some kind of situation where you might be wondering what the hell happened. With the Nine of Wands, I feel like this is where doubts start to come into it, where you've been on this journey for so long and you're just doubting, your circumstances or the work you've been putting in. Like, why did I start this in the first place? It's maybe because you are so far from the ace, maybe it's very difficult to remember what were you so excited about to begin with. But what's so important about the Nine of Wands to remember is that you are very close to the end. You're 9 out of 10, and you're incredibly close to finishing whatever it is you're doing. But what's also important to remember is that despite being all battered and bruised and having been at this for a very long time, you are still doing it. You're still going at it, and you're still doing the duty to the Nine of Wands energy, or to the Nine of Wands journey, I should say, which is, commendable just on its own. And where the Fates talks about surrendering to it and the serenity you need to make a good choice, etc., like that it will come to you. I feel like being the Queen of Cups, and you would be that as a Pisces and as a water energy, I feel like you would be in a very good position for that, because she's incredibly intuitive and in tune, and like with her emotions and her own intuition. So I feel like you would be, she can be psychic and all these things as well, right? So she would be very in tune to have that serenity, I feel. Or maybe if it's some kind of message or puzzling out what this situation is that the fates have put you in. And capping that off with the Knight of Pentacles, I feel like after the Nine of Wands, and then you're the Queen of Cups, and then you are the Knight of Pentacles, where he's so diligent and down to earth, and he, yes, he's quite slow moving, but he gets everything done, and he's meticulous, and he is a very hard worker. I feel like that's kind of the payoff here. Of course you don't have to keep going, you don't have to keep moving to the Ten of Wands and then finishing the cycle. But I feel like the Knight of Pentacles kind of energy, where you do get a lot of work done with him, is kind of the payoff of just giving yourself up to the fates and sticking with it with the Nine of Wands. And I'm absolutely not saying that you're going to give up. That is, of course you're going to give up, Pisces, because you have the Nine of Wands. I'm just saying that if you do have doubts and wondering why you're even doing this to begin with, because you kind of lost sight of that, I understand if that's a possibility. But I think you have some very interesting and powerful energies for your reading these 2 weeks. And I feel like, yes, they can look very scary, but I feel like you can utilize them to your benefit. It looks very ethereal and out of control in a way. But at the same time, I just get this feeling that you've got this. Thank you so much for watching my video. And like I said in the beginning of the video, if you need more information about the decks I use or how to contact me, you'll find it in the description below. And I do hope that at least one of these readings resonated with you and you got some kind of message from it. And I hope everything finds you well until next time.